sometimes it was frustrating because they'd be like, oh, why is a Chinese singer winning the Australian X? I'm like, dude, like at least get the facts right. And and like there were like rumors that like, oh, all the people in her country voted for her. I'm like, no, sorry, like I wish they do, but no one cares. Like,
It's expensive to vote from Korea, man.
exactly. And like I think Koreans, not many Koreans actually voted because they're cheap. Hello and welcome to Lemon's Weekly in Conversation. On today's episode, we are joined by a trailblazer in the entertainment industry. Dami Im first came to our screens in 2013, where she went on to win the entire X Factor competition. Despite her crazy talented vocal cords, people felt the need to voice their opinion that she did not deserve to win because she looks Chinese, even though she was actually born in South Korea. When you think of Asian representation in media, how many people can you actually think of? Not many, right? So like most Asians in Western countries, we look to Dami because she's on the forefront of creating representation in mainstream media. She has even gone on to having a #1 single and album, as well as earning us our highest placement as runner-up on Eurovision. We hope you enjoyed this chat as much as we did.
Yeah, so tell us, what have you been up to this week? Because I know it's been a crazy week. You've been everywhere, like on radio, on TV.
This week, so my new single came out last Friday, so it's just been lots of promo, doing interviews and going on TV shows and chatting with people on the radio and things like that. So yeah, mainly that, and then, also in the background working on the next one and, just...
Is it far off?
Well, no, it's not far off. No, I don't think so. It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. So we ask all of our guests, what are you listening or watching?
What have I been listening to? I mean, I just like just going on Spotify and like discovering different artists. But yeah. Oh, actually, well, since you guys, this is like the Asian thing. Do you know Akmu?
Oh, yes, making a comeback. Yeah,
I know. I'm really excited about that. And so I was just like listening to them.
Yeah.
Their
They disappeared
old
for so
stuff.
long.
Was she the one that was on a competition as well?
Yeah, they
with
were.
her sibling or
With her
something?
brother,
With her
yeah.
brother.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
Yes, yeah.
yeah.
The brother just
They're
came
like-
from the army, I think.
Yeah, that's it.
yes.
And like he's the brother, Chanyeong is like he's a really good songwriter, and the sister's obviously like she's amazing singer and personality as well, even though they're tiny and like young. But so just been listening to that. On Netflix. This is weird. Like I've sort of went off a lot of the Korean stuff, culture stuff for a while, and then now I'm kind of more back into it, and I started watching this new Korean drama on Netflix.
What's it called?
It's called it's a brand new one. I didn't realize they only have released up to 2 episodes, and I was like, no,
That's the worst. Yeah, that's the worst.
and now I gotta wait. Like I'm
Yes.
hostage to them. It's called the flower. Oh my gosh, it's like in Korean it's called 동백꽃을 무렵. So like this is a new one with 공효진, which she's like a famous actress, and yeah.
What's the show about?
It's like it's really interesting. She's like a single mom who moves into this like tiny old country town and opens a bar, and then all the things that happen because it's still like taboo to be a single mom, and then I think she gets murdered in the future. So they kind of started
I got dark real
hinting.
quickly.
I know. It's like all like cute and pretty, but then they kind of hint that she's gonna die. So
Right,
yeah, that's
yeah.
where it's at.
So you're like Australia's like most famous K-pop fan. So what new band are you most excited about? Because there's quite a few bands that I know that you're into.
Well, so I've been so obsessed. This is not a new band, but I'm so obsessed with Sunmi.
I
Yes.
love
As-
Sonny. Yes, that's
She's
Wonder
Wonder
Girls.
Girls?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like the thing. Hey, like
Yeah.
she's incredible. Her songs, her look, her personality, everything about her, I think it's just so cool. And I just love when K-pop artists find their own voice and they start doing things, in their own terms. And you can tell, she's so original and
Yeah, and then of course, like I'm just like learning about the new ones, and like, of course, like everyone loves Stray Kids, and there's ITZY, and yeah, I'm just
there's a lot coming out these days.
heaps coming out, and then I'm actually going to Korea to do a festival in October, and like some of these guys are gonna be there, so I'm like, oh my gosh, and I'm gonna, I'm gonna listen to all their songs, and I'll be like fangirling when I get there.
And you're also a huge fan of Boa as well.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Did you ever thought about back in the day that you wanted to become a K-pop star, or?
I think everyone does at some point in their lives. When you get into K-pop or Asian pop, you dream that like, oh, maybe one day I can be one of them. Yeah, but like in high school, I used to like just learn all her songs, look up all her videos, and it wasn't like, I don't think YouTube was even around, but I used to just on the internet, like on the different sites, just like download all the videos, anything I can find, and that's how I started singing, by like recording her songs at home on my computer and sounding really not good, and also trying to do her choreography, which didn't go so well. Yeah, but she's like my first love, man. Like she's real. Like I had a huge crush on her.
What was it like meeting her? Because she's like a childhood idol, and you got to meet her. So what was that like?
That was. It still feels like it was a dream or something, because I really honestly wasn't expecting she was going to be there. Like I didn't know I was meeting her. It was like a surprise thing that Dani Minogue and like the Channel 7 team organized for me. And so when that was happening, I was just like shaking, and I'm like, I don't even know what I said. I think I was like, oh, it was, can't believe it.
Yeah. You moved from Korea to Brisbane when you were younger, right? What's your earliest memory growing up in Queensland?
Earliest memory, well, I think it was really warm, like 'cause we came in summer, and I actually thought it was a holiday. I was.
Parents tricked you into coming.
Yeah, kind of. I was only 9 years old, so when I came, it was like, ooh, it's like another holiday, and just like swimming, and they took us to the zoo and petting the kangaroo and whatever, and then having to go to school. I was like, what do you mean I'm going to go to school? And then, I didn't speak English, so it was like trying to fudge my way into, making friends and blending in. And
what's it like, growing up in Korea? Because when you're Korea, everyone around you looks like you, but then you go to in a school in Australia, it's so multicultural. You see all these different faces. Were you confused as a child, like
especially if you don't speak the language as well, or?
Yeah, I was so confused. I was like, it just looked so foreign, and it obviously I was the foreigner, but I'm like, wow, these people all look, so different to me, and it's funny, like I don't remember the details, but then afterwards, once I got used to it and I go back to Korea now, or from time to time, that was when I noticed, like, oh my gosh, these people look like me. Everybody sort of looks like me. I blend in, and they speak my language. Like that was more weird, going back and being like, everyone looks like someone I know because they all look Korean,
Was your school mostly like multicultural, or because my school was like all Asian, so I always
really?
felt like I was the majority.
Did you grow up here?
I grew up
No.
here, in Melbourne,
Yeah.
but I grew up in like an Asian suburb.
Right.
So then everyone in my school was Asian, so I never felt like I was the odd one out. But I can imagine if you went to like a multicultural school with with lots of different races, you wouldn't feel the same. Was that the case for you?
My
or?
school was a tiny school. We only had one class per year level.
Wow, it's really small.
So small, and I was the only Asian in my class, and in the whole school there were about 4 Asians. My brother was the other one, and my 2 cousins.
Did you guys kind of like? Did you guys like kind of hang out together? Or?
We couldn't really, because we were all in different year levels. So we were kind of separated. So I had to just figure my way out, and for me, music helped a lot, because I was already, I've already been learning piano since I was 5. So I got to play piano at assembly once. And then that's when people were like, oh,
She's
wow.
the piano girl.
Yeah. Oh, she's good at something, Oh, she looked so dumb, That's what I'm thinking. And I think that's when I was like, oh, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is, this is how I can make up for all the, times that I look dumber than other people.
I mean, now you've made it as our Australian superstar and you go back to Korea quite often. Do you find that you resonate more with your Asian culture or your Australian culture?
I think it's really for me a bit of both. I don't know. It's either if I'm being optimistic, I'm both. If I'm not, I'm neither. And sometimes I think everyone can relate to this. Like people with different backgrounds. Like sometimes you're just like I don't fit in anywhere. You just feel a bit excluded because you're so different.
Yeah, like in Australia, we get told that you're Asian here. But then if you go to like, for example, I'm from Cambodia. I go to Cambodia, they're like, you're not Cambodian because you don't speak Cambodian.
Exactly.
You
You
look like us.
sound funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's me. Like my English, like I feel like I'm still kind of sitting at like 70%
No
capacity.
way.
Yeah,
No
totally.
way.
I'm like, I still don't know so many expressions and I'm just like, pretending. And then when I speak Korean, I'm fluent, but I thought I was fluent. I thought I was like perfect, but then I try to do like interviews in Korean and I sound like a primary school kid. And I'm so aware of that. Like, it's not like I don't know. I'm like, crap, like I sound like so uneducated because I am like I wasn't educated in Korean. So yeah, it's a weird.
Yeah, it is a weird one.
thing.
It's when we go to another country, we can't fit in. When we're back at home, we can't fit in either. So it's like we can't win.
Identity crisis.
Yeah, a bit of identity crisis.
Yeah, and I think that's why, like, like you guys were talking about subtle Asian traits and that, like, people connect so much there because we're like another breed of people where we don't fit in anywhere.
Yeah,
and
I
we're
feel
like, oh my gosh, you guys.
Asian people have been trying to fit in everywhere else, and then we finally found a place where we're like, oh my god, there's actually other people like us, and that's why everyone kind of came together.
Yeah, and I think I love that, I feel like Asian culture is finally finding this voice in the Western culture, with the movie Crazy Rich Asians, and then like like more coming out since then. I think in my opinion, I think we were sort of trying to just ditch our Asian culture and blend into this mainstream Western culture until now we're like, hang on a second, like we got this. We shouldn't be ashamed of our own culture using chopsticks and our parents and like all this different culture. Like other people are proud of their culture, so why can't we and still fit in this society with pride about our own culture? So
Absolutely, yeah. And
love that phenomenon.
Exactly. And like you said, the Crazy Rich Asian, it's such a big magnitude that movies, singers like yourself, it's kind of representing a lot of other people who's having a bit of like an identity crisis, who can't feel like themselves, I guess. And moving forward to the X Factor, once you won it, you've actually represented a lot more people, I think, than you realized.
And also, when I was watching this show, I had a bit of an inkling, especially when you won your season. The first person that you thanked was God. Do you feel that your faith has shaped who you are as a person?
Yeah, absolutely. Like faith is, really big part of who I am. And I guess when I went on the X Factor, I had come from this background where like I wasn't just the Korean immigrant, but I also was the Korean church.
Yep.
It was
Yes, yep.
what I mean is I feel like I came from a really small world where I just mostly hung out with Korean immigrants from my church. And so the rest of the world and the culture, the mainstream culture was just so foreign to me, even though I'm from here. Like I didn't grow up listening to any of the songs that the other people grew up listening to and all the movies, or like I was very like in a little bubble. And so when I won the X Factor, I was like, I was like, what does this even mean? But I mean, only thing sure that I was holding on to is that, God sent me out for a purpose. And, I was always taught from my church that you've got to become influential and go and like be a good witness and everything. And I'm trying to figure out what that means. Like, It's easy to say that when you're inside the church, but then when I'm actually outside and among all the mainstream people and the culture, it's like, wow, what can I actually do? And yeah, it's been a wild journey.
It's funny how you mentioned that, because I actually came from the opposite spectrum. I went to a public school, and then I went to a private Christian school, and the world was so different.
Wow.
I went from being so exposed to such a very niche community.
Right.
And the transition for me was actually quite tricky because the worlds are so different.
Yeah.
Even, being a Christian, Asian, going to church is so different than going to somewhere else.
Right.
Do you find that working in media as well, being a singer-songwriter, superstar, that it sometimes clashes with your faith?
I guess so. I mean, I just think it can be tricky to open up and be yourself, and you just don't know how other people are going to take it when like people say, oh, we're inclusive society, like we accept you for who you are, but then when you say, oh, I'm Christian, it's like,
Yeah. It's like we become a bit too Jesus-y for people, and they just kind of take a step back as well.
Yeah, and so, like, you don't want to preach in people's faces, and I don't do that, but yeah, just like still being proud of the faith and the truth that I know, but then also being humble and accepting of other people. I think that can be the tricky part.
Yeah, you're a prime example for someone who is displaying your values through your actions. Like your compassion, for example, is such a big part of what you do. So I feel like, yeah, definitely with what you're saying about Christian, being labeled whatever, being too preachy. I think, yeah, you've done such a great job at doing that. And so
it's hard, but I think compassion is a really good example because, like they don't, try and change people in the way that, like, they don't go, oh, you've got to be a Christian to receive our help, or you've got to do this to be part of compassion. They're accepting, but everyone knows that they are doing it in Jesus' name. So, I think, like you said, feel like you're just doing things with your action rather than just preaching in people's faces probably works better.
Could you explain a bit more about compassion? Because I know that's an organisation that you're very tied to as well. So what does compassion actually do?
So compassion is a bit like World Vision, I think is more well known, where they help children living in poverty by one-on-one sponsorship. So you can sponsor a child in one of the countries where, the child is living in poverty without any hope. Their parents cannot provide for them. And so I've been sponsoring through Compassion since I was 17. And I just thought, wow, this is really cool. Like, you can actually make a difference without doing anything crazy. You just have to have that relationship with them and, send them a bit of money. But then I became the ambassador when I won the X Factor because, when I won, Noah, my husband, was like, we should, make the most of this platform, and what can we do? Let's do something with Compassion. And Compassion, we're really excited about that. And we've been doing it since, and we went to visit kids in Uganda and India and in the Philippines twice, and it's really good. Like, I just love what they do. So
absolutely, and it's quite refreshing to see someone who's made it in the music industry who is publicly giving back as well, and it's showing that other people can actually do the same. So what you're doing is actually extremely incredible.
How many kids do you have now? You've got 8, don't you?
We
Yeah.
Oh, you've done your research. Compassion's really good, and I love getting to go and meet them in person because you're like, wow, they actually exist. They're real. It's not just some
name on a paper.
Yeah, and then the funny thing is, the kids, when they see you, they're like, oh my gosh, you're real. It's the same. They go, oh, look, you're just like a paper and a name, and so that's incredible.
I just want to go back to X Factor a bit. So what made you actually want to go audition for X Factor?
So that was 2013. And by that time, that was a few years after I decided that I was going to be a professional singer. That's my dream. And so I was, I'd finished my degree in contemporary voice at the con, And then I was getting odd gigs here and there. I was singing mainly at churches, and in Korea as well, doing like youth camps and things like that. And then I thought, I knew it was time for me to take the next step. Like I needed to do something now, something brave to just give it a go while I was, still young. And, before I thought, oh my gosh, when I'm 30, it's the end. So I better do it. I was like 24. And yeah, like X Factor, I didn't even know much about that show. I watched a little bit of it, but I just didn't know. But I thought, okay, this is the talent thing. Scary, but I'm just going to see if it could benefit me in some way, give me a little bit of exposure so I can get some more of those gigs at churches and stuff. And then, yeah, it just went really well. I just thought
Turned out okay for you.
Yeah, I expected honestly like one or two, moments on that TV show, and that was my aim. And then it just, I ended up doing very well. So.
Winning and then going on to Eurovision as well. So was it very different from X Factor? Was it a lot more pressure, I guess?
Eurovision, yeah, it was insane. Like, the scale of it was just so big. Like, I mean, there's like 40 something countries that have been involved since the 70s or something?
Yeah, like where Celine Dion, ABBA was on.
Yeah. So they've got this history and this huge culture around it where, some European countries treat it like their religion, and they actually do that.
Yeah,
like,
they're like onto it, yeah.
Yeah, and they go from it like year from year, like just people are obsessed. So just being a part of that was, incredible. You're just like part of something so big, and to represent Australia. Like I did put so much pressure on myself because, I think.
Wow. Like what kind of preparation did you have to do?
Preparation? Well, you gotta. So I went there 2 weeks before the actual shows. And I mean, by that stage, I'd been doing all the press and, different things in Australia. But this is just when I went over in Stockholm. There were just rehearsals after rehearsals, not just rehearsals, but like proper TV rehearsals where you're on that stage doing the same thing over and over. And then also there's all these media interviews from all over the world happening everywhere. And then there's different performances in, like the Euro clubs that go off every night. And then there's Euro Village, there's embassy parties. So just like so much happening leading up to the actual TV performance.
Were you nervous at all? Because there's like how many people? Like 80,000 people in that stadium, right?
Yeah, it's huge. And then 200 million watching
no pressure.
live, And you just like, I remember just staring at barrel of the camera going, oh my gosh, everyone's watching. It was pretty nerve-wracking. And, I knew it was an important performance. But then when I heard the audience cheer in that stadium, I think it was the biggest roar I've ever heard. Like,
It is. I've seen fan cams.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
it is crazy, right? Like it's next level. I've never experienced anything like that since, it's crazy. And so that gave me like
That rush.
and an excitement, and my nervous energy became like excitement energy. And I think I was so nervous for the semi-final more than the grand final, because I'm like, imagine if I don't get through, like I'm going to let all my team down and Australia down. I was carrying so much on my shoulders, I think. And I'm just like, I've got to be 100%.
Yeah, you did incredible. And even Phil was telling me how he was betting on you as well.
Oh yeah, me and my sister placed a bet on Eurovision that you were gonna win.
Did you?
Yeah, and then.
Oh
'cause
no, I'm sorry.
No, don't. You haven't let us down.
Did you lose a lot of money?
No, just a couple of dollars. No, but like I remember we wake up at 6 a.m. and then because we were working, so we work at a bakery. So then we're like, okay, we're gonna place a bet on Dami, watch it live, and then. As the points were coming up, you're at the top, and then Sportsbet was like, okay, do you want to withdraw your money for, I don't know, like $200 or whatever? And I'm like, nah, Dami's going to win.
Oh my
and then the last minute, was it Russia, Ukraine just jumped out of nowhere. Like,
I know, that was insane.
I think, Australia was really glued to that, especially that year. Something about that season that year made it so magical. I'm not sure what it was, but you did.
Dami.
It was Dami, and you did so well. And after you finished Eurovision, did you get any opportunities to even go overseas, any record deals or anything?
So afterwards, there were chances to do more stuff in the UK. But I think, like the biggest thing for me is like I built such a big fan base around the world through that opportunity because my song charted everywhere, and I still have fans that come over to my shows from Europe. Like I have a guy from Poland coming over to my show, the Melbourne show on Saturday, which is a long way. But yeah, I think like I went back a few times, but I think it's like, I feel like now I'm sort of feeling ready to go back out there again. And,
Is it true? I read somewhere that after Eurovision, obviously you're like wanted everywhere. But at the advice of, your managers and the record label and stuff to go overseas to promote, you actually wanted to go to, I think it was Uganda, do a concert for Compassion. Was that correct?
Yeah. Well, so what happened was before I knew that I was going to Eurovision, we had planned this trip to Uganda with Compassion. It was like a yearly thing. And it was locked in. And then Eurovision came up and it was going to be just before that trip. So everybody around me, they asked me like, do you want me to cancel the trip? Because you're going to, have lots of opportunities and you want to take advantage of that. But then I thought, well, I can't really, because this is like a commitment. And also I felt like it was the perfect chance to bring more attention to the work of Compassion. And I was like, that sort of made sense for me. I was like, well, maybe it's God's way of planning this in such a perfectly timed way that, Eurovision gives me, more meaning because I get to do, help the work of Compassion. And yeah, to me, it was fine. Like
it was the right decision.
Yeah, I knew it was 100% the right thing. And I felt great. Like I had so many kids sponsored that year and so many people watched me and go through the slums of Uganda and see the work that Compassion does. And that was really, it was priceless.
Does Compassion give you numbers of like, after you've done a concert on Facebook or whatever, that you've got this many signups for sponsorships and stuff? Do they give you that kind of feedback?
Not immediately, but they tell you, but like normally it's, it just builds up over time. But they said, like some hundreds of people just got, kids just got sponsored. They would give me updates from time to time. So it's really special.
That's really good.
And going back to X Factor, I think there was actually two defining moments Phil and I were actually talking about.
Yeah, as an Asian Australian, we don't really get many representation on TV. And I was telling Thomas the other day that on TV, I can only think of two moments in my life where I've actually felt really proud being an Asian. And that was when Guy Sebastian won Australian Idol, and then when you won X Factor as well. And then whenever I go back to Cambodia or like have family visiting, whatever, I feel like I'm most proud of showing your performances on X Factor to them. Like, as an Australian, we're I want to show them that we're multicultural. Like, there's diversity in our culture as well. And I feel like, that moment when you won meant so much to people like us. So
Aww.
yeah, and I said this to your concert as well when I saw you last time. I didn't think you remember, but yeah, I feel like there's so many people in the same boat as me and Tom who look up to you because you've done such a great work representing
so
her to
nice.
us.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, when I was on X Factor, I had so many people tell me, or like even afterwards, they're like, "Hey, Dami, I didn't want to tell you this before, but we thought you should win, but we thought you're not going to win because Australia's not ready for an Asian winner."
That's true.
Yeah. But then I did.
Yeah,
and
you
it's
did.
like, there you go. Like people still supported me and I'm Asian and like then I guess things are changing slowly.
That's true.
Yeah.
Do you ever read Twitter comments, Twitter trolls? Because when you're on the show, especially after you won, a lot of people are saying you shouldn't have won because you're Asian. This is Australia, X Factor, whatever. Yeah. Do you ever read those comments or?
Yeah, I read everything. I shouldn't. I shouldn't.
How do you feel after reading those comments? Like, did you just put them aside or?
Well, sometimes it was frustrating because they'd be like, "Oh, why is a Chinese singer winning the Australian X?" I'm like, dude, like at least get the facts right. And and like there were like rumors that like, oh, all the people in her country voted for her. I'm like, no, sorry, like I wish they do, but no one cares. Like,
it's expensive to vote from Korea, man.
Exactly. And like I think Koreans, not many Koreans actually voted because they're cheap. Like,
that's true.
but I won, so
Yeah.
it's all good.
And when you went back to Korea, how proud were people in Korea of you?
People were, really proud. Like they didn't know at first, but when they found out, it became like headlines,
news,
big
yeah.
news. Like this, Korean Australian won the Australian X Factor, and people were fascinated. Yeah.
Especially your family, they tune in every week.
Oh
Your
yeah,
family
my
Korea?
family was so proud. And then when we had like the TV crew come to Korea to like do a little doco on us, and they were like all dressed up the same, and like they loved being on TV. Like my whole relatives, all my aunties and my grandma, they cooked a feast and they're like
Clean the
singing the
house.
song. Clean the house. Like totally like fake everything.
I think for me, my defining moment was when you sang one on the top 12. I think that's when you went viral. You were on trending
yeah.
on Hello K-pop on Twitter.
Oh,
And
really?
after you won as well, you also went on Star King. And for those who don't know what Star King, it's like a variety show where a lot of K-pop artists, a lot of K-pop singers, actors that come on. You're also on The Masked Singer as well.
Are you on the Masked Singer Australia, by the way? I'm sure you got asked this like the whole week.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think everyone's being asked that. All the singers or different people. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna say that you're white on it.
Well,
See, she's just
I
confirmed it.
don't want to disappoint people, but I was in the original one.
Yes, yeah.
So initially, after you won X Factor, you went back to Korea and did lots of promotion there. Was that something that you wanted to do, or was it something that your management and record label wanted you to do?
In Korea.
Yeah, in Korea, yeah. Because
Well-
you even released a Korean version of Super Love.
Yeah. Well, no, I wanted to do stuff in Korea because, it kind of means a lot because that's where your family is. So when I do all the different stuff, all the cool things in Australia, they don't take
can't
as much
see it,
notice,
yeah.
They're just like, okay, cool. But then when I do something tiny in Korea, they're like, wow, that's, so great. I'm going to come, So, I took all the opportunities to do things there. And whenever I'd go anyway to visit my family. So every excuse to go, I would just go.
And in Korean K-pop culture, a lot of the girls there, they have porcelain skin. They have great big eyes. What is your opinion on the South Korean beauty standard?
Well, every culture has their different standards, and it's not just Korean culture, but I think every culture does have it. I feel like sometimes Korean culture beauty standards are a little more rigid, and because I think it's not as multicultural as Australia or some of the other countries, so people just expect like this one type of look. I think it's changing a lot as well. There's more different looking people I see coming up, which is amazing. Yeah, but I think, growing up, I always felt like I'll never be, good enough. I'll always be the ugly one in Korea. Like that was a big, thing for me. I just felt, it always made me feel very self-conscious. And, in that way, I feel lucky that I live here because then, I just look different to other people. Like everyone looks different here, so it's okay. Whereas Korea, I think there's a bit more pressure to look a certain way.
Yeah, in Korea, in China, a lot of my Chinese and my Korean friends, they even get graduation presents, which is getting plastic surgery. So it is a lot of, I guess, the standard in Asian cultures is quite high. And do you think it's becoming a little bit unrealistic or?
Yeah, I mean, from an outsider point of view, like someone living here, it does feel like, wow, it's a bit much. But then when you actually go live in that particular culture, just get used to it. Like I don't know, like I see friends who live like from Korea, they come to Australia and live here for a while and they become very like natural and like unkempt, sort of like, ooh, very natural.
10-step beauty mask or...
Yeah. And like, very relaxed. But then they go back to Korea and suddenly they're like super beautiful. Like they lose heaps of weight, like very like toned body and perfect hair and makeup. And you're like, whoa, what happened? So it's like just different standards. And I guess Korean people, they take their beauty really seriously.
I feel like Asian parents, Asian aunties are the worst. I remember when I was growing up, like my aunts and uncles would say, "Oh, you're so chubby.
Yeah.
Your eyes are so small." And then when you grow up as an adult, you kind of that kind of like follows you.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm chubby.
Yeah, the first thing that my auntie would say, you've gotten bigger, you're getting too skinny, are you eating? Yeah. So it is cemented quite in Asian culture that I guess your aesthetics is one of the top priority because they associate with getting into a relationship, you're successful, if you're beautiful, you have a successful life, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to look out for you, but then
You know, and they have good
Careful.
intentions.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, your skin's disgusting. Oh, thanks. You look a bit older today.
And post winning the X Factor as well, your whole journey has been quite incredible and it's been a bit of a whirlwind. Has any of your close friends or relatives kind of pulled you aside, even Noah, and showed any concerns for you, or they've been very supportive?
Well, yeah, I think Noah, he's been very supportive the whole time. But yes, from time to time, he'd say, don't get too caught up in the whole thing because I get really obsessed with certain things and I'd be like trying to get something done, like getting a song finished or like I have a goal and if it's not going to plan, I'd be like pulling my hair out. And he said, like he's just worried that like, that I'm not happy and enjoying the process. And I think all he wants is for me to just have fun and enjoy it. Whereas for me, I'm like, if I'm always enjoying it, I'm not going to get anywhere. So I'm going to push myself. I'm going to try my best. It's okay. I'm like, yeah, I kind of, being stressed is part of this. So it's fine.
Yeah, it's similar to me too. Like working with Sue, he's always told me enjoy the journey as much as you can because when you're in it, even watching a lot of interviews where people have made it, they kind of regret not being in the moments. Yeah, it's just a keep go kind of feel.
Yeah, that's hard, hey. Like when you're still going after your goal and you're pursuing something and you're obsessed with it. But then, yeah, you do want to be able to enjoy it and also look at how far you've come from your old self, And yeah, I guess that's something I've got to try and do more of.
How do you manage your relationship with Noah? Because you're always touring. So how do you guys manage your relationship?
Sometimes he comes with me.
with you,
Not
yeah.
all the time. He's busy. But I guess just trying to communicate more, just talk about everything, update him on everything. And yeah, like just keeping him in the loop, I guess, is my main key. Because he's very like interested in everything that I do and, all the different things I'm going after. And yeah, I think that the most important thing is just always talking and keeping that
Does he ever tell you to
communication
stop
open.
singing?
Stop
Like,
singing.
yeah,
Oh,
'cause,
shut
like,
up. No, that I'd kick him out of the house.
Because I'm always hanging with Thomas. He's always singing, always practicing.
Oh, really?
Making all these weird sounds, like barking sounds, cat sounds. And so I have to put sometimes I just have to put some rap music just so he can't sing.
Wow.
No, it's because I'm trying to
Bark.
break my mix, get into my mixed voice.
Oh, you're
So when
practicing, I
when I'm
see.
training with Sue, she's like, sing like this. I'm like, okay, but the sound doesn't sound very pleasant, but it's like a technique. I'm trying to get my voice out.
Yeah. Like
Exactly, yeah.
We need to talk about your new song because that's an incredible song. And I feel like it's your first song where you've been really honest, like completely like honest about your feelings and about how you've been going through, trying to hide, I guess, like your sadness and the troubles that you went through. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that song, what it means to you?
So, yeah, it's called Crying Underwater. Because when you're crying underwater, you can't tell whether you're crying or not. And yeah, I wrote it after having this conversation with my friend Mike Tan, was saying, it's these days, like so many people go through these sadness or depression and they find it really hard to tell anybody about it because you just feel like there is so much pressure to look like you're happy and everything's going fine, and with social media these days, like you just look and people are like, yeah, having the best life, blessed, and you scroll through and you feel like, oh, I'm the only one going through this like sadness, and you almost feel ashamed for being not happy all the time. And I've been through that myself, many times, and I've had that myself where I'm not feeling great and I feel really sad. And that's a normal part of being human, but, I can't really tell people because it's really embarrassing as well. So, yeah, that's how the song started, and Crying Underwater, that's what it's about.
And that was released independently, is that correct? Mm-hmm. Are you considered an independent artist now, or?
Yeah, so I released through the Orchard, which is part of Sony, but still, independent.
Or was it a scary decision to go independent? Like, what kind of pros and cons is there working with a record label versus working independently?
Well, yeah, I've been with Sony for a long time, since X Factor, and like it's some of it's really great, and like I got some really good opportunities through it. It's amazing, but then also it was just time for me to do what I really was passionate about, and I guess if I stayed, then they I would have to do another covers record, which I did not want to do, and I said, okay, I'm going to please, it's time for me to leave and choose what I really, really want to do, and they agreed to that, and so crying underwater, here we are.
Yeah. I was listening to your song this morning called Dreamer, and it's a beautiful song. I just want to quote a few lyrics because I feel like there's a line that really resonated with me. I just want to read it back to you, and I want you to tell me what this song's about. So it's called, the line was, I'm not that stupid, don't need your advice, and I have a vision and I know the price. If I had to battle, I'll fight it to the end because I know what I want, I know who I am.
I'm a dreamer.
Yeah, she sings a bit of it.
Dreamer was like the song where I was like, I've had enough. This is, I'm going to live my own life and I'm going to make my own decisions for my career. No one can tell me what to do. I was just, I guess, fed up with so many people like just trying to control me. And
are these just like people just telling you what you should be doing in your career? Like you should go tour in Europe next month or something like that. Is that
everything? And mainly,
she's looking back at her manager.
No, I guess just wanted to say, when I first was on X Factor, I had no idea what I wanted to do, except that I wanted to sing. I didn't know how or what and what kind of music. And then a few years on, I was like, okay, I actually have a much better understanding of who I am, what I want to do, and I've been a songwriter since I was a teenager, but after being signed to a label, like I felt so much pressure to write in a certain way, and I couldn't write properly anymore, like from my heart. Like it was just really hard. Something was blocked.
You must feel the pressure to write like pop hits, right? Like radio music.
That too, and it's not even someone saying you must write a pop hit. It's also, I guess, a lot of it I put on myself. Like it better sound like what's on the radio, and I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I never had to think about that. So for a long time, I found it really hard to write like I used to from my heart. And then when I wrote Dreamer, that was when I started to go, hang on a second, like I'm just gonna spill it all out there, and I just. No filter, blah blah blah, rah, and that was my, my
FU moment.
Yeah, that moment that finally snapped, and I guess like after that, that's when everything started to flood, like the floodgates were open, kind of thing,
Absolutely, and before we came up with a lot of these questions, we know that your Dami Army is a very loyal fan base as well. We did ask them some questions to ask you if that's okay. Mm-hmm. So from Jessica Lowe, she asked us, what is your favorite Korean restaurant in Seoul?
Seoul.
Favorite restaurant in Seoul? Ooh.
Where do you like to go?
There's this place that is really, really hard to find. And I took Ken there, my manager, and he thought I was taking him to kidnap him and sell his organs.
Gotta be careful, Ken.
Yeah, it's not a nice area, like very old and like, messy. But you find it, and there's this like a chicken soup restaurant in Dongdaemun, and it's called Takamari. Grandma Chinhokwa. If you know, you know. And it's like this very simple. They only do one dish. It's like boiled chicken with like kimchi, and it's.
Was it one of those restaurants that's under a tent, or was it like?
No, I think they started off as a tent, but then they made so much money. It's like a little building, but it's in this like area where there's just like messy and there's like fish being fried on the streets and the smell, beautiful smell by the way. And then yeah, that's the one.
So Jessica actually has another question for you.
Okay.
So the question is, do you miss having a fringe? And then she writes, I've been mistaken by fans and newspaper photographs of being Dami thanks to my fringe. I don't look like
Fringe.
anything like her. I've got a picture here if you want to see it.
Okay. Oh wow! Wow.
So tell us,
I don't look like that anymore.
You don't even look like her. You look completely different. But
Well, I can see why people thought she looked like me though.
yeah.
Yeah, that used to be my look. I don't miss my fringe, hey. Fringes are so annoying to keep. Like, if you had one, you'd know. Like, girls with straight fringes, it just does not like to stay. It parts. It opens like a little curtain, and you gotta like brush it and do everything, blow dry it. It's just not my thing. Oh, it's hard.
Fringes. So the next question from Leah Michelle. What was the first album you bought? And also, what is your favorite song from Shiny?
First album that I bought. I mean, it's got to be like a K-pop cassette.
Was it Boa?
No, Boa was like, I was a teenager by then. So the first one was more like, what did I buy? Oh, actually, with my own money, I guess Boa would be. I don't know if anyone knows, there's a girl group called Pinker. They were big like in the 90s.
Was it the same generation as Wax?
I think so. I think
Like
so.
90s?
Yeah.
So old. So that was like my cousins were so into it. They're like a couple of years older than me. They used to buy Pinker and SES, so those ones. Yes.
And favorite Shiny song?
Shiny song. I don't really know a lot of Shiny songs. What do you guys know?
Oh, well, Ring Ding Dong.
That's the most famous one,
most
isn't it?
famous
Yeah.
one, yeah.
Ring ding dong. Yes, that's the go. There we go.
And the last question is from Jonathan. He's from America. He asks, do you plan to release a full-length album soon? And what kind of sound can we expect from it?
Yes, I'm working on an album and I'm going to drop it next year. Yeah. The sound, I guess, would be, Crying Underwater is probably the good like example of where I'm heading. But yeah, I'll be dropping some more singles before the album, so you guys will hear that.
Can't wait.
And do we have anything that we can expect from you in the future as well, or
Um,
there's a bit of a vibrato in that?
yeah, I mean, I'd love to collaborate with different people.
One of your fans asked if you would ever collaborate with a rap artist.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah.
Just $sign.
Yeah, I mean, or just invite Cardi B or something.
Yeah, why not?
Do you want to rap on my track?
We'll get it on the remix for Crying Underwater. Get it
Yeah.
on the remix.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Dami. We're out of time. How can we find you on your Instagram and Facebook?
Just search Dami Im on Insta, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and you'll find me.
And check out her song on Spotify and iTunes.
Yes.
And Apple iTunes, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Thanks for listening. Join the hundreds of other people who have connected with us on Facebook and also follow us on @Lemon Podcast to see what goes on behind the scenes on Instagram. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you follow us on Spotify or subscribe to us on whichever platform